I still can't believe the audacity of some people. I mean, seriously, was I wrong for what I did? For letting someone's entire career crumble around him, after he relentlessly mocked me for being just support staff? Or would you have done the exact same thing if you were in my shoes, dealing with someone so insufferably arrogant and dismissive? Tell me, because even now, the memory boils my blood, and I wonder if I handled it with grace, or if I became just as petty as he was. Maybe both. Let me take you back to the beginning, to a time when I was genuinely excited about my new role. I had just landed a position at a rapidly growing tech startup called InnovateX. It was a dream come true, or so I thought. My official title was Senior Technical Support Specialist, but in reality, I was the unofficial systems architect, network engineer, and cybersecurity consultant all rolled into one. See, the company was scaling at an unprecedented rate, and while they had brilliant software developers and product managers, their infrastructure was, to put it mildly, a house of cards. They had hired me because of my extensive background in IT, my certifications, and my proven track record in building robust and secure systems from the ground up. I was tasked with not just supporting existing systems, but designing and implementing new, scalable solutions that would support their explosive growth. I was thrilled. This was my chance to shine, to truly build something impactful. My direct manager, Sarah, was incredibly supportive and recognized the value I brought. She often introduced me as her secret weapon, and gave me full autonomy to tackle the massive challenges ahead. Everything was going smoothly until Mark joined the team. Mark was hired as a lead software architect for their flagship product. On paper, he had an impressive resume, fancy degrees, big names on his past employment list. But from the moment he walked in, there was an air about him that just rubbed me the wrong way. He carried himself with an almost theatrical arrogance, a smirk permanently etched on his face, as if he knew something everyone else didn't. He was tall, impeccably dressed, and had a booming voice that commanded attention, whether or not he had anything worthwhile to say. He quickly formed a clique with a few other developers who shared his inflated sense of self-importance, and they would often gather in loud huddles, discussing high-level architectural concepts, completely oblivious to the operational realities of the systems they were building. My desk was strategically located near the server room, which meant I was often in the thick of things, troubleshooting issues, running diagnostics, and quietly implementing the very infrastructure that allowed their code to even run. Our first real interaction was less than pleasant. One day, a critical database server went down, bringing down their main application. Panic ensued. Developers were running around like headless chickens, shouting theories and pointing fingers. Mark, in his infinite wisdom, declared that it must be a software bug in the database itself, and began ordering his team to roll back recent deployments. I, having already isolated the issue to a failing power supply unit in one of the rack servers, calmly approached him. "Mark," I said, "it's not a software issue. The power supply in server R1, DB03 has failed. I've already got a replacement on the way, and I'm preparing to hot swap it." He looked at me, a condescending smirk playing on his lips. "And who are you, exactly?" he asked, dismissively. "I'm the Senior Technical Support Specialist," I replied, my voice steady despite the rising irritation. "Right, the support guy," he scoffed, turning back to his team. "Don't worry about it, folks, just the support staff. I'm sure it's a code issue. Let's focus on what really matters." He then proceeded to waste another hour of valuable time, forcing his developers to review code that was perfectly fine, while the entire company's operations remained halted. Eventually, Sarah, my manager, had to intervene. She vouched for me, confirmed my diagnosis, and had me proceed with the repair. I had the server back online within 15 minutes of the replacement part arriving, while Mark stood there, red-faced and awkwardly silent. No apology, of course, just a cold stare. That incident set the tone for our relationship. From that day on, Mark made it his personal mission to belittle me at every opportunity. If I was in a meeting discussing network architecture, he'd interrupt with a comment like, "Let's not get bogged down in the plumbing, people. We're building rocket ships here, not fixing toilets." He'd refer to me as the cable guy, or the printer fixer, in front of other colleagues, often loudly enough for me to hear. He'd make jokes about the janitorial staff of the internet. It wasn't just him. His inner circle of developers picked up on his cues and would often join in, snickering when I'd offer a technical solution or warn about potential infrastructure bottlenecks. I tried to ignore it, to rise above it. Sarah noticed and tried to shield me, even having a quiet word with Mark once, but it only seemed to make him worse. He saw my quiet resilience as a sign of weakness, an affirmation of his superiority. See, he'd practically sneer. The support staff can't even handle a little friendly banter. My role, however, was becoming increasingly critical. While Mark and his team were busy building new features, I was busy building the actual platform they ran on. I designed and implemented a scalable cloud infrastructure, migrated legacy systems, hardened our security posture, and introduced automation that saved countless hours. I was essentially the invisible backbone of the entire company, ensuring everything ran smoothly, securely, and efficiently. I worked long hours, often late into the night, fixing issues before they even became problems, anticipating needs, and constantly upgrading our systems. But to Mark, I was still just support staff. The final straw came during a company-wide town hall meeting. The CEO was presenting quarterly results, celebrating the amazing growth, and thanking various teams for their contributions. When he got to the engineering department, he singled out Mark's team for their innovative product development. Mark, beaming, took the stage and launched into a long monologue about their groundbreaking architecture and ingenious solutions, completely omitting any mention of the underlying infrastructure that made it all possible. Then, as he was about to step down, he paused, looked directly at me in the audience, and said, "And of course, we couldn't do any of this without our valuable support staff. Thanks for keeping the lights on, guys." The implication was clear. We were mere cogs, nameless faces who handled the mundane so the real engineers could innovate. My blood ran cold. I felt a flush of humiliation, but also a fierce determination. I promised myself right then and there that Mark would regret those words. So that's the situation I was in, and I had to make a choice. I could continue to silently endure his mockery, or I could do something about it. Before I tell you what happened next, I want you to pause and comment below what you would have done in my shoes. Would you have confronted him directly? Would you have gone to HR? Or would you have found a more creative solution to his arrogance? My revenge, if you can call it that, wasn't born out of malice, but out of necessity and a deep sense of injustice. I didn't want to actively sabotage anything. I just wanted Mark to finally understand, unequivocally, the value of just support staff. I decided to give him exactly what he claimed he didn't need: hands-off, minimal support. My job was to design, implement, and maintain, not to babysit. I started by meticulously documenting every single system, every configuration, every network pathway, and every security protocol I had put in place. I created comprehensive runbooks and detailed diagrams, making sure that if someone else had to step in, they could. I then started delegating more routine tasks to the junior support team, focusing my own efforts on critical infrastructure projects that didn't directly involve Mark's team's immediate operational problems. I essentially created a buffer, making myself less accessible for the urgent issues that Mark's team frequently generated through their often sloppy deployments and lack of foresight. The real opportunity arose with a major product launch that Mark's team was spearheading. They had developed a new feature, a high-traffic e-commerce integration that was supposed to revolutionize online sales. It was a massive project, and the marketing team was already hyping it up. I had been involved in the early stages, warning them about potential scalability issues and database bottlenecks if certain architectural choices weren't made. I had even offered to help optimize their database queries and reconfigure certain network segments to handle the anticipated load. Mark, of course, had brushed off my concerns. The database can handle it. Our code is optimized. You just focus on keeping the servers from exploding. Support staff, he'd sneered. I made sure to send an email, clearly outlining my recommendations and warnings, and copying Sarah and even the CTO. I wanted a paper trail when Mark responded, dismissing my concerns as overly cautious and irrelevant to core development. I archived the email without further argument. Launch day arrived. The marketing campaign was huge, driving unprecedented traffic to the new feature. For the first hour, everything seemed fine. Then, slowly but surely, the system started to buckle. Pages began loading slowly, then timing out. Transactions failed. Customers were abandoning their carts. The entire e-commerce integration, the one Mark had championed, was collapsing under the load. Developers on his team were scrambling, shouting at their monitors, trying to figure out what was happening. Mark was pacing back and forth, phone glued to his ear, his face a mask of panic. He barked orders, demanding to know why the servers weren't scaling. "Why isn't the network handling this?" He yelled across the office. His team, utterly lost, started looking for me. "Where's my name?" they cried. "Can he fix this?" I was at my desk, quietly working on a completely unrelated security audit. I had seen the alerts pop up, heard the increasing panic, but I stayed put. Sarah approached me, a worried look on her face. "They need your help," she said softly. "The e-commerce integration is failing." I looked at her. "I warned them, Sarah." I sent Mark a detailed email outlining the exact points of failure they'd encounter with their chosen architecture. He dismissed it. She nodded, a grim understanding dawning on her face. "I know, but the company." I stood up, walked over to Mark's panicked team, and surveyed the chaos. Mark rushed over, his arrogance completely gone, replaced by desperation. "Look, my name, I need you to fix this. Now, what's going on?" he pleaded. I looked him dead in the eye. "Mark," I said, my voice calm and measured amidst the chaos. "My job is to provide support for systems that are designed and implemented responsibly. I warned you about the database bottlenecks, the inefficient queries, and the lack of proper load balancing. You chose to ignore those warnings. You chose to dismiss my expertise because I'm just support staff. Now your product is failing, not because the lights aren't on, but because the architect failed to design a house that could withstand a storm." I paused, letting my words sink in. His face drained of color. "What do you want?" he whispered, completely defeated. "I want recognition, Mark," I said. "I want respect. I want you to acknowledge that support staff isn't just about keeping the lights on. It's about building the entire power grid. It's about designing the very foundations that allow your rocket ships to even get off the ground. And from now on, I want you to listen to my recommendations, not dismiss them out of hand." He swallowed hard. "Okay, yes, you're right. I was wrong. Please just fix it." I took a deep breath. "All right, but this is going to take time, and you and your team are going to be involved in every step of the solution, so you understand what went wrong and how to prevent it in the future." I then began to systematically identify the failing components, guide his team through the process of optimizing their queries, reconfiguring the database, and implementing the load balancing solutions I had originally proposed. It took hours, but eventually, the system stabilized, and the e-commerce integration was back online. The damage was done, though. The launch was a disaster, sales targets were missed, and the company faced a significant PR nightmare. The aftermath was significant. The CEO, having seen my email warnings and witnessed the live debacle, launched a full internal investigation. He saw the paper trail, he saw the arrogance, and he saw my expertise. Mark was severely reprimanded, stripped of his lead architect title, and eventually, after repeated failures to collaborate and learn from his mistakes, he was let go. It wasn't my doing directly, but my actions, my meticulous documentation, and my calm, professional handling of the crisis exposed his incompetence and toxic attitude. My own standing within the company, however, skyrocketed. I was officially promoted to Director of Infrastructure and Operations, given a significant raise, and my team was expanded. I was finally given the respect and authority that my contributions deserved. The moral of this story, I think, is that true value isn't always found in the flashiest titles or the loudest voices. It's often in the quiet, consistent work of those who build and maintain the foundational elements, the unsung heroes who ensure everything runs smoothly. Don't ever underestimate the support staff, because sometimes they're the ones holding everything together. So, that's my story. I still reflect on it sometimes and wonder if I could have been more magnanimous, or if what happened was simply a necessary consequence of Mark's own actions. What do you think? Like this video if you were on my side. Subscribe for more stories like this, and share your final thoughts on this whole mess in the comments section. I'll see you all in the next story.